day is it? Is it Tuesday? Oh, what? Very squeaky. I got Amos to school this morning. It's Tuesday, which is exciting. And I had a subscriber, what did I have? I had a subscriber video, and then at 9:45, I have a call. And it's interesting. When you do what I do, right? You have videos, you have all sorts of stuff. There's a thought that like you shouldn't get involved in politics, right? Because it's not going to make you popular. And it's true. Talking about politics does not make you popular. But that's not my goal. And yes, do I depend on income and have children going to college and a child with a disability to think about? And yes, I do. But I also have to pay attention to things that are really important. And as much as I would prefer just to stay away from politics, I live in the state of North Carolina and they really matter. And we have a really big election coming up. We have a woman named Michelle Morrow who won the primary as the Republican candidate for the school superintendent race. And then we have another fellow named Mo Green, who is a former attorney and school superintendent. Michelle Morrow was a nurse and a homeschool mom. And I would like to think that people in North Carolina that are, and you might say, well, I don't live in North Carolina. It's not relevant to me. Well, then go get on a treadmill or stop and think for a minute. This is probably happening in your state too. To me, the D or the R by the names don't matter. So if you flipped it and you said Mo Green is the Republican candidate and Michelle Morrow is the Democrat, and you told me that Mo Green was a former attorney, a former superintendent, supports teachers, has a long history of being liked and great. And then if you told me that the Democratic candidate was a former nurse, had never had children in public school in North Carolina, homeschools, and thinks that schools are indoctrination centers, I would be speaking for the other candidate. Right? I would be cheering for the Republican. Like this has nothing to do with any of it to me. This has to do with common sense and what people are doing. And it was interesting. So this morning I was kind of reading some comments and I got this message and, it concerns me. It concerns me. So I have this woman named Kimberly and she said, you just lost a follower. Sad. I don't know sad for whom. I'm not sure. I had enjoyed your videos for a few years. If you are a liberal, then I'd rather not watch you any longer. I will be voting for Mrs. Morrow as a Christian conservative and former educator and counselor. You are unsubscribed and now it's $10. So I tell you what I'm going to do. After I get off this video, I'm going to do a special sale to $5 back to be a subscriber. So I've just put up the link. After this video, I will change it. Because there's some glitch in the system and I've lost like 2,000 this month. So I wrote back to the former educator and counselor who is sad. And I said, I am an educator and take great pride in having a PhD from NC State University, a master's from Chapel Hill, and a bachelor from Meredith College. I learned a lot in those 11 years of school. And I would be remiss to support anyone who refers to children like my son as retarded. Good luck to you. And it's really that easy for me. It's that easy for me. The fact that she is advocating for Amos to not be with his typical peers, which doesn't follow federal law, means two things. One, it means it will never happen. So you might say, well, then why do you care? She is the leader of education. She would be the leader of education for the state of North Carolina, which is the biggest line item in the budget. Biggest line item in the budget in North Carolina is public education. And you might say, well, who cares about public education? It is in our state constitution. So you have to care, whether you want to or not. I don't care about the stuff she said about Biden or Obama. I don't really care that she was at the Capitol, blah, blah, blah. That's all white noise to me. I mean, I think it's silly, but I don't care. She said about Obama, I mean, just the fact that somebody could say this stuff, it's nuts. I prefer a pay-per-view of him in front of the firing squad. I do not want to waste another dime on supporting his life. We can make some money back from televising his death. Hashtag Obamagate. And this is when the question, the tweet was, who wants to see Obama tossed into Guantanamo Bay for treason? And she said, well, not her. She would rather have him in front of a firing squad. Cynthia, you lost a lot. No, Cynthia, I didn't lose subscribers because of any other thing other than a glitch in the system. And Cynthia, let's just be honest, you detest me. I mean, you said the other day I looked puffy and that I was a terrible mother. So there are people that just sit around and wait to pounce on me. I don't know why. I don't sit around and wait to pounce on people. The only people that annoy me are the real thin ones that talk about their pudgy stomachs, and their stomachs look like the bottom of my foot. They're so flat. So this is a big deal. So Tom Tillis is a Republican in North Carolina, a pretty big deal, right? And he said this morning, spewing terrorist propaganda and calling for public executions of elected officials you disagree with are things we usually hear from radical fundamentalists in places like Iran, Afghanistan, and Russia, not candidates running for office in North Carolina. Regarding that he would not be supporting Michelle Morrow. So that's Tom Tillis. So if Tom Tillis ain't supporting her, then all the other Republicans, conservatives can feel safe that they don't have to support her either. And it is it's going to be a close race. It's going to be a close race. And I just hope people think, well, I don't like Obama either. I don't like Biden. Well, fine. But don't vote for her for that reason. Don't vote for her for that reason. Vote for Mo Green because you don't think Amos should be in a school system led by a person that calls him retarded. That's all you have to think about. Or an indoctrination center. I mean, yesterday I'm out at the public school most days, and yesterday I spent the morning at our public high school. And I saw counselors and teachers and administrators who were so invested in these kids and working on scholarship money so they could go to college, and we're having a new high school built. I did not see any indoctrination happening at all. Not a bit. And that's like a dog whistle, I guess is what they say. And it's just not true. And so don't think, well, she's a Republican and I'm going to vote. Like, people, use your brains. And yes, if you think people with disabilities should be called the R word, then she might be the person for you. And if you think you would like a nurse running a $1 billion budget, then have at it. If you think somebody that's never had a child in public school in North Carolina should be in charge of public education, then do it. Then you're great. Do it. But if you think public education is the way that we save money in the long run, because people are less likely to go to prison if they have access to early childhood education, if you think that Eastern North Carolina is a pretty cool place to be, I mean, you can come here and you see water and dogs, and you say, you know what, I want to visit there, then you better vote for somebody who wants to support public education in this kind of town. Because if we have somebody that doesn't support it, then people are moving. And then districts do close in other states. They do close. They do close. And if the school district closes, then the hospital closes. And then property values go down. And then Edenton looks like a ghost town, you know? What is the draw for those who support her other than political party? Why her specifically as the opposing candidate? You know, I think she ran, I think Catherine Truitt, who was the Democratic candidate, or Republican candidate, who I didn't love, but if it were Catherine Truitt running against Mo Green, I wouldn't be focused on this race. I would be more focused on the fact that Mark Robinson is running for governor. Now, to me, you can't just bleh all the time at people, but being governor is not as dangerous as being school superintendent. It's kind of like lieutenant governor. I mean, you could be my dog and be the lieutenant governor. In fact, someday I might run for lieutenant governor. You have to do very little. I mean, no offense. You do break a tie between the House and the Senate, but I mean, that never happens. Yeah, I think she won because she loved Trump and she hates Biden, and that the people that showed up for the primary are those people. And they want, I think that's why she won. I don't think because anybody's like, I love her. I really feel this amazingness. So on Monday, WRAL released this big poll, and this is pretty important. The poll showed that she had 41% of the vote and he had 40% of the vote. 19% of respondents were undecided. So the reason that I'm doing these weekly videos is because there are 19% of people who have not made up their mind. And if I could get to 2% of them, Mo Green could win. And again, this isn't about having a Democrat in office. This is about not having someone who thinks children with disabilities should be stuck in a closet and called retarded. It almost sounds fake, the fact that somebody would say that and say it proudly. And someone that has never done anything but be a nurse and a homeschooler. She couldn't even win for the Raleigh school board race. Do you know how much money this is? If you are truly conservative, then you should be fiscally conservative. Do you want a homeschooling mother who was a nurse to run hundreds of millions of dollars of your tax dollars? I don't. I do not, because I pay a lot in taxes. That's what I'm working on today. The poll said Morrow, a homeschool mom who has called public schools indoctrination centers, pulled off this upset in the GOP primary where she beat Catherine Truitt. I think Catherine Truitt really didn't expect her to be able to beat, and it's ridiculous. Green was the superintendent of Guilford County Schools, and he beat his two competitors overwhelmingly. People know Mo Green. He has a great reputation in the state. He's well educated. He has experience. It's great. He leads by 5 points from adults who have children under 18 at home. And funny enough, she has a 4-point lead of people that don't have any children at home. 72% of people that are voting for Trump are going to vote for Morrow. and 77% of Biden people back Green. Unaffiliated voters favor Green by 7 points. So I think there's hope that Green can win. I think the people that I'm concerned about is the people that are voting for Trump. Vote for Trump. I don't care. Do whatever you want. It doesn't affect me. What does affect me is don't jump on to this. I call everybody retarded because I like Trump. Those two things do not go together. If you are a Republican, then you should be fiscally conservative. If you're fiscally conservative, then you have to vote for the person that has experience in managing a budget, not a homeschool mom. And I'm not against a homeschool mom. I was a homeschool mom during COVID, and I was not a good one. Green not only was Forsyth County superintendent, he was also the deputy superintendent of Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. He is interested in academics, character education. He wants to support our public school employees. He is really active in engaging parents and students in the community. He wants a learning environment safe. He wants there to be more funding for public schools, but he also says, I can take the resources that we have and prioritize them a little bit better. Michelle Morrow, the disability, the person that calls people with disabilities the R word, she was a property manager and a nurse. And she says schools don't need any more funding. No, they don't need more money. She wants more discipline and just said public schools are too woke and they're just pushing agendas on LGBTQ issues. Please don't link all nurses with this lady. I don't think anyone is linking nurses with Michelle Morrow. The point of saying she's a nurse is because if you are a trained nurse, you are not a superintendent for a state like North Carolina in education, right? So she could be an anesthesiologist. It doesn't mean that I'm like, I hate anesthesiologists. It's the fact that an anesthesiologist shouldn't be in charge. These are the problems. So just think for a minute. Vote Mo Green. Not because you're a traitor, not because you're a Democrat, but because you think public education in North Carolina will save taxpayers money in the long run and that it will support having Eastern North Carolina survive. And if you want to see states where it hasn't survived, you can find them. Go to Ohio, go to Michigan, go see where school systems have shut down because of radical policy. Goodbye. That's your Tuesday tale.